Well, welcome everyone to our 2021 TRC Talks, Ideas and Inspiration. We are starting something new. You know, in January, that's typically what you do, whether it's resolutions or goals or all types of different things. What we have found as we paused at the end of 2020 and looked at that crazy year that we all found ourselves in, we found that there was an opportunity for many of you, whether it's here live, and that's the beauty of Facebook Live, that some of you have some time to say hi to us right now. And then others of you might be like me at, 12:30, 1:30 in the morning. I have time to go back and look at some things. And so I could go back and view these particular opportunities to see what is being talked about and how chambers are evolving day after day after day. So we have created TRC Talks. We'll do these monthly. The beauty that we have at YGM and going all across the country talking to chambers about their program of work and what they're offering to their members and kind of increasing not only their dollars, but their engagement with members is we're able to see a whole lot of different chambers and what they do well, what they have learned from, and get some best practices that we're able to take to other chambers across the country. You know, we all love that rip off and duplicate in this industry. And so as we were thinking about what would be here, the first one in July, we began to think, and as we began to look at opportunities and what we would do here, thinking that it's going to be monthly, I'd first tell you, kind of chasing a chamber squirrel, is make sure you follow YGM's pages. If you like this, Facebook, they love their flavor of the month and changing all their algorithms and everything. So now likes are not going to be important anymore on business pages, at least until they change it again. It's the follow. So make sure you follow. And if you all have pages and, have some questions about that, we even have some detailed information about all of that on our Facebook page. So that chamber squirrels over. But as we were thinking through, what to start off with, it began to think much of what we're talking about with chambers all across the country right now is board retreats and strategic planning, and how does their total resource campaign fit in all of that? And it just made me think, strategic planning. And then it was like, no, strategic planning is the right thought process, because in thinking and thoughts and getting ready for board retreats and getting ready for planning, it's a lot about strategic thinking before strategic planning. And it was just kind of one of those aha moments that would be our first topic. And it didn't take me long to think exactly who I wanted to be our guest today, to let you hear from one of the best in this industry and somebody that I'm very fortunate to call my friend. And that is Kelly Hall at the Longview, Texas Chamber of Commerce. One of the best that I feel in this industry about strategic planning and strategic thinking. So Kelly, welcome today. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for accepting my invite and being with us to talk as we talk through strategic thinking and strategic planning today. For some of you that are on, I know we've got a number of viewers. Definitely feel free to put comments in. We'll address some of your questions as they're coming in. Some we know it's in the thread of our story, so we'll probably get to some of those. But definitely drop a line and let us know where you are and who you are and all that aspect. But Kelly, before we even get into strategic planning, I've told them you and where you're from in Longview, but give them a little bit about your chamber background to kind of set up our strategic thinking topic today.
Well, I started in this industry in 1986. I started in a little town called Hennessy, Oklahoma. And Hennessy's a town of about 1,800 people. I was a one-person shop. And that was how I broke into the industry. I left, I was a fashion, it's hard to believe this. I was a buyer for a high-end fashion department store. And then I opened the very first outlet mall in Oklahoma and became a warehouser, hated it, loved being a buyer, hated the warehousing side of it. but retail was changing fast, and they said, oh, you'll have to move to Texas if you want to succeed in being a buyer. And I said, I'll never live in Texas. Well, guess what, folks? But that was a different world. So Hennessy, Oklahoma, one person shop, went to Claremore, Oklahoma for several years, was a two-person shop. And then in 1991, September 15th of 1991, I moved to Texas and was at the Greenville, Texas Chamber for 14 years, and then came to Longview. It'll be 16 years ago in April. It's hard to believe I've been here that long, so the math really does start to come together. And I empathize with small chambers, and I know what it takes to run what I call even a small to mid-sized chamber. I've not been at the larger urban scale, and I don't want to be. I love where I am, and I want to use my time, my talent right in Longview.
Absolutely. And, first starting with 33 members, we kind of have that thread of small chambers in that regard. Absolutely. But, with that history of starting small and continuing to grow to the chamber that you are now, strategic planning had to be a part of that, even personally, and where you were going to go professionally. But how would you define strategic planning in just what it is for people? We're all used to doing it in this organization, but what is it to you?
Shut up and listen.
Absolutely.
And I'm very serious about that. We don't know what we don't know. And we have to listen and learn how to ask questions and prepare those questions out in advance. And to me, that's the key. It's being willing to stop, identify your local predicament, understand your customer lens and their needs, take the mission, vision, and value of your organization and blend those together in ways that shows value to that customer. So you're not the afterthought. You're the product they want to save when something has to go. And that only comes if you're able to demonstrate true value to your customer.
And that's more than a one-day board retreat. Everything you just said, so many times we hear strategic planning. Yeah, we're going to have that on January the 19th and we're ready to go. And that's just not necessarily the truth to the matter. Our
organization does continual planning. At the staff level, at the volunteer level, at the board level. It's not a one and done moment. So strategic thinking is always evaluating, where are you at? Are you meeting the needs of the customer? How can you improve your processes? What needs to shift within the organization? Are you nimble enough to make that happen? If not, why? And what I love to read, because that's how I shut up and listen, is by reading. And our organization, when I came in Longview, our total budget, and this may sound like a lot of money to some people because I remember when it did to me, was right about $650,000. And over half of that came through government contracts, because we had the Convention and Visitors Bureau, we had our Main Street program, we had a retail contract with our industrial development group. But actual member-driven programs, products, and services was under $300,000. Today, we have no contracts. So we don't have the CVB. We don't do the Main Street work. We don't have a retail contract. And our budget for this year is about $1.2 million. And that is true programming and services that meets the needs of our customers. It's not about the events. And so for me, I had to learn how to really take organizational management into a new realm. And when we lost the contracts in 2015, and I'm happy to share that story another time. So my three favorite books, number one is The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. I've been reading his materials for a number of years. 5 dysfunctions of a team, and the list goes on and on. But the Advantage really encapsulate his top 5 books and puts them into one process. And I really liked that. And I've done book club studies on that book. Then when our organization got the call we were losing the contracts, my pastor called me and said, Kelly, I want you to go buy the book Church Unique by Will Mancini and process it and tell me what you think. Well, I just removed the word church from that book and put chamber, because we're all membership organizations. And it was just like these light bulbs. I couldn't stop the light bulbs from going off in my head on the correlations I could draw on why chambers fail. And I didn't want to be a chamber that failed. I already felt like a failure because we lost these contracts based on a personality with someone who didn't even know me, because I'm not from Longview. So that book just opened my heart and my eyes to reevaluate our organization. So strategic thinking is not the board's job. They're a part of the process. It begins with self and self-reflection and being honest with self, because we deceive ourselves a lot. I think that's the biggest risk that we have is believing our own BS and getting caught up in who we are and not being humble. So I brought I brought my key team leaders. Some of them aren't with us anymore because they had to go with the contract. And we read the book together, and then we spent days walking through the sections to really, okay, does this apply to us, and why not? And then we just started putting the stuff up on whiteboards. We didn't try to organize anything. We were just purging ourselves and really evaluating the organization. What caused it? Where are we? What can we do with it? Because there's always hope. There's always hope. So that happened in spring of 2015 and was a process through the summer. So that's Church Unique by Will Mancini. It's The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. That I would tell every chamber that's required reading, to be honest with you, because one of the things I heard recently, and I'm a huge Rick Warren fan with Saddleback Church out of Orange County. And he was talking about why are churches failing during COVID, and why are some churches thriving during COVID? And he said, because they put all their stock in the worship service. And I thought about our chamber again, and I'm thinking, why is our chamber not really suffering during COVID? When's it going to hit? Why are we not hurting the way my friends are hurting? What am I doing wrong to not hurt like my friends? But I really started questioning, why were we not hurting at the same level my friends were hurting? We were hurting,
right,
but not like some. And then I started looking and comparing the organizations, realizing they had become dependent on an event. They were nothing but monthly events. And I started looking at, we don't really do events. We're not, as Dave Kilby would say, we're not the pageant, parade, party chamber. So what makes up a healthy church? And Rick would go, it's fellowship. It's getting to know each other. It's about the relationships we have with each other. It's about discipleship. It's stewardship. It's shepherding. It's how we lift and encourage each other. It's about telling where we screw up. It's being humble. It's how do we serve one another through ministry and get into each other's worlds. But that can't happen if we don't have the relationship with the person. And then he talks about evangelism. And he said, that's not me being the evangelist. That's the church body being the evangelist. Well, bam, in my face, right again. we're not a one show chamber. We don't just do events. We build relationships with our customers. We have intentional retention plan. We have chamber concierge. So we're developing relationships, and Kelly can't do it all. So we spread that work out. We fellowship with one another outside of work. It's not all about work. It's about taking the relationship deeper and lifting up one another's families and encouraging one another and sharing with one another. It's about stewardship. It's about holding each other accountable, being disciplined in the different areas of our lives so that we are successful, because there's nothing wrong with being successful and being prosperous.
Right.
It's about ministry. It's about serving, sending out. If someone's died that's part of your chamber, by golly, send the business a card. You don't have to send flowers to everybody, but send a card. Send a card to the spouse of the person who's died. Let them know you as a person and take the relationship to its core. That's where strategic thinking starts. Understanding your predicament, knowing your customers, knowing where they're hurting, connecting the dots of what you do best. And if all you do is events, you can't serve your customers when times get tough. Because events shut down, didn't they?
They did. I mean, that spigot dried up real quick. And two, with us being able, as you did, to compare organizations and, some in the YGM family and other chambers thriving and prospering truly during 2020. And others that we know, unfortunately, literally shut the door. There is no more chamber in that community. And when you begin looking at it, and, some chambers call and go, we're just having problems with membership retention. And, new members aren't kind of anywhere to be found. And then you look at the chambers that their membership is kind of the highest it's been in years. When you find that those are the organizations that truly cared about the relationships, began to, not necessarily even began to, but they tapped into that community that they had, that it wasn't Kelly and staff, but it was board, it was businesses that they had that relationship with prior, so that when those business community people did talk, they said, this is where we get our resources at the chamber. And that has been a vital part, I think, of so many of their successes. A lot of what you talked about in kind of that definition of what strategic planning is, I heard there's a lot of time in that. There's preparation, and there's reading, and there's talking to staff and all that, far beyond that strategic planning session that we call so often in a December or a January year for our chamber. Why do you think so many chambers are trepidatious about strategic planning? They're scared to go there. It's just kind of this burden of gotta have that retreat. Do you think it's the time element? Do you think it's additional aspects to it? What would you label as why they're hesitant in doing it?
I think it's afraid of failure. Not being willing to sit back and call, a lot of chamber execs want to throw, I nearly used a brown word, Jason. I'll just use it. Throw their shit out on Facebook. Zip it up. Get your face. I'm sorry. I know you talked about your Facebook thing, but there's a time and a place, and throwing your shit out on Facebook, because I know I've seen some of that, and I'm thinking, I know those chambers, and I know board members in that chamber, and they wouldn't want me repeating what the whiningness that I see on Facebook. Pick up your phone and call the 5 execs you admire the most. You don't have to call 20. Maybe you just call 3. And just have some questions and say, help me think this through and walk this through with me. And how do I hold myself accountable in this area? So one of the things you talk about is time. Yeah, it's going to take a time. And it's going to take shutting the door and being quiet. It's going to take writing. Just random. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't even have to be organized. Just start keeping track of the randomness of the thoughts of your team, the thoughts of your board. And when the right time comes, you are the dot connector. That's strategic thinking, is learning how to be the master dot connector. They don't expect you to know anything. Guess what? They're afraid of failing too. So let's just fail together and do the very best we can. And that means we learn how to ask questions. I started with that. I want to go there again. So my third favorite book, it's a textbook and I'm a nerd. I just, work through that. It's called Strategic Doing. And really the book is about learning how to ask questions. So I'm going to show my age. I grew up, my parents, Johnny Carson was on every night in our house. But then, he would bring Joan Rivers in, very colorful woman, but she was extremely successful. And so Johnny Carson asked Joan Rivers, why are you becoming so successful? You're going to have my job. I can remember the episode. And she said, I learned how to ask questions. I create 7 questions for every person I interview when I do your show, Johnny. And because I only can have a minute and a half. But if I have 7 great questions in advance, I'm prepared for whatever they throw at me. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm an avid reader of John Maxwell. And I was shocked when he used that episode and that example of how he prepares to teach, to preach, to build teams. Now he's doing transformation communities because he learned how to ask questions, the right question. Mm-hmm. And the light bulb in Strategic Doing was, as chambers, we want to copy and paste because it's easy. Mm-hmm. So we ask, well, what did you do this year? What's the new name of your program? I don't want to call it this anymore. Oh my gosh, y'all, get alive. So stop asking the what questions and learn how to ask the how questions. Those are the harder questions. How do you get your chamber into the community? And you're thinking, I don't have time to get my chamber into the community. Well, if you don't, when it gets hard, that community is going to pull away from you. If all you do is think about yourself, nobody's going to be there for you unless you learn how to get your chamber into the community. How do we engage our members into our circles of influence? So in our strategic plan, we have 5 circles of influence: redevelopment, education, advocacy, collaboration, and health. So we're continually looking at being that dot connector. How do we engage? What's important to our members? That drives our programming. That drives our policy advocacy work. That drives everything we do, is how we capture that information through whether it's surveys, through whether it's phone calls, whatever that looks like. And then how are we living out our commitment to prepare our community for the next generation? Mm-hmm. Guys, you know what? We had to cancel our boat and RV show. Oh, we were so sad publicly. Oh, it was a sad day. Behind the scenes, yay! We've just killed a sacred cow. That's the last one to go. We are killing that puppy and not bringing it back, because that is a distraction from how are we living out our commitment to prepare our community for the next generation. Mm-hmm. If we're to build this business environment that allows people to live their dreams and be prosperous, putting on a boat show is not going to get there. Mm-hmm. But doing policy work, and I've spent the morning on the Hill in DC, sitting in Longview, Texas, talking to congressman staff, talking to senator staff on skill development issues. Then this afternoon, I spend my afternoon prepping with other state leaders to get ready to do a program on House Bill 3, which is about school finance. How we're going to reward teachers, how we're going to do full day pre-K in a year that we're going to have our first biennium shortfall in a long time. And you know what, guys? That's what our members want us doing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they'll buy into that.
And we've got to be good at telling that story to them, letting them know that we do it. Because it's easy to do it behind a Zoom screen in the office. but we've got to be able to tell that message that that's what we're doing and how it's going to affect them. You know, Kelly, a lot of course, you've been doing a TRC for years in Longview. And so we're fortunate enough to know your program of work and know the programs and initiatives you have through that REACH strategic plan that you do. But you're one of the few chambers that we've seen that has a very strong program and initiative body of work that really is very lean on events. And so in that regard, talk a little bit about morphing to there, and also how does your membership embrace that? Because when it comes to, you know, financing, regardless of how people do it, whether they use a TRC to get sponsorship dollars or they're going event to event to get sponsorship dollars, you know, typically the types of things that you're talking about, our top tier members really can think about that. They get that they've been in the community long enough and they want their employees to have a good quality of life. So they understand that. A lot of times what we find is those small businesses are really looking for transactional things that might be at an RV and boat show or might be about other things. How have you been able to plug those small businesses in seeing that a lot of what the chamber does is a lot more theory-based than transactionally based?
Well, you know, it's it's interesting. It has morphed. This in March, when all this started falling apart around us, we closed the office for 2 weeks. Because we're known for planning and preparation. You know, every employee has a laptop. We all had what we needed to go virtual, because that's what affords me to travel with my job, or used to afford me the opportunity to travel with my job. Is I was always in the office, whether I was in Washington, D.C. or whether I was in LA. It really didn't matter where I was to perform my job extremely well. So each of my team members is equipped to do that. So when we were doing our research, an interesting email came across, and it was from Chris Bayless. He's a sponsorship guru out of Canada. And he works with the big boys, you know, the Nikes. I mean, he's working with huge events and huge international accounts. And he's like, I remember some weird email he sent. He said, so you think COVID's going to get you down? You know, something you can make more money now than ever before. I thought, okay, I'll bite.
Absolutely.
I watched his webinar, and then I went to my team and I said, we're buying the package. We're gonna take these seminars and we're gonna dissect it, and we're gonna learn from it, and we're gonna figure out what we're doing for TRC. And that started in March, and our TRC renewal, well, our first vice chair meeting, I think, was in mid-July, and then renewal period was in August. We didn't wait till July or August to start, right? We knew we had a good book of business, and we know we're going to get 80% of the renewals. But are we in a COVID year going to do that? So we went through this series with Chris Bayless. Then I sent it to you, Jason, and I said, I sent you you know me, I've got my spreadsheet, I've got everybody's input on everything. Here's where we are. What are we going to do? Well, the first thing he talks about is shut up and listen. Now, he doesn't say it like that, but I think I'm going to write a book, Shut Up and Listen. But really, that's what it was. It was a matter of picking up the phone. You're not selling a thing. And asking questions. How are you doing? How are your people doing? How's your family doing? What are you thinking? How are you going to take what's going on and encourage people to innovate and be successful? How are you going to instill hope when it seems like there's no hope? And having those discovery discussions opened our eyes to a ton of product offerings. And we didn't put them all in place for this year. We're building out this product, these product offerings for the next 2 to 3 years, because we took the time to do discovery conversations. Nothing was about us. Everything was about them. So when we walked into our TRC campaign, I'm a believer, if you kick off a campaign, you always have 50% in your pocket. You may dole it out and make it look like sandbagging or whatever, but you've got 50% in your pocket. Well, in 2015, we had to have our strategic plan reach, redevelopment, education, advocacy, collaboration, and health. I started with our 6 top investors who give 25 grand a year. Scale it. Everything I say, people, scale it. If I'm 25 grand and you're a chamber with 1,500 members, then you should be getting 50 grand. If you're a chamber of 300 members, just scale it down to 10 grand. Whatever it is, make it scalable. So I went to those guys and I said, I don't know what it's going to look like, but you told me that you still care about the kids. Workforce development is still your number one issue. You don't know where your workforce is going to come from to fill your talent, what your company needs in 10 years. And you know we're here, you know we're here, you know we're here, and this is what we're doing. But we don't know how it's going to look. Are you still going to be in? All 6 immediately. Well, of course. Why would you not? Because that's Kelly being fearful, right? I'm letting fear hold me back. Well, instead of 6 $25,000 investors for this year, we had 8. And we are working on 2 more right now to throw into 21.
So let's just pause there. I want to make sure everybody got this. You were at 6 $25,000 sponsors or underwriters, big investor members in 2015. In 2020, in a COVID year, not only did you get those 6, you got 8. So an additional 2 more. And there are 2 more that will be coming on. Here
I feel confident. Yeah.
So we're at 10. So in that aspect, part of this is it doesn't really matter what the external atmosphere is, as long as the internal atmosphere has that thought, it still works.
If you're building relationships and maintaining those relationships and asking questions and saying, where do you want us? Because people say, well, how did you come up with $25,000 worth of product? Well, I didn't. I came up with 10 or 12. I didn't book the whole 25 grand to specific things because I wanted to know what are their areas of what are the key influences that are important to them. We need a workforce. We want equity. And the only way we're going to get equity is through education. And the only way education is going to have equity is if there's funding towards lower income families. So it's learning how to connect the dots to your customers based on where their heart is and what they want. So I just say, well, then which area do you want to focus on? One area of our key influences, or do you want to focus on 2? I don't let them go into 3. They focus on 1 or 2. And I say, well, then let me build a package for you. And I don't use your TRC contracts. You know that, Jason.
Absolutely. I do.
These types of packages, we make our own. And we just call them customized marketing or cornerstone investor, whatever it is, because I can get more money if I don't nickel and dime people.
Absolutely.
And so it's learning how to be flexible. And some people, it's black and white. And I mean, what we do is honest, and there is no doubt there's integrity in everything we do. So we're going to do the right thing, even when it's hard. But we've learned how to work with our customers to bring them along. That's that shepherding and discipleship piece. We're good stewards of the money. We tell people what we're going to do with it. We have a fulfillment. Before you bought the company, Joyce hammered on me, Kelly, you've got to demonstrate fulfillment to your sponsors. And we do. We save copies of, print screens of everything we do. And then we have data that backs up things of how many, whatever. The other thing that came out in the Chris Bayless's, other than the shut up and listen, was audience. Who's your customer's audience? because they may not need your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, I've been through the training where, we're going to have an event and it's going to draw 5,000 people and you can put your product out here and there's X number of impressions and it's branding and blah, 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 blah. It's all very true and all very important. But then what about that company who's in your community that doesn't need brand awareness,
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't need the community except for quality of life, workforce issues? So it's learning how to have that conversation with that company and, and saying, well, we're at City Hall. Who is your audience? And then who do you need to know?
Mm-hmm.
Give me 6 months to connect a dot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I'm going to know somebody from somewhere, from something, who can help me be successful with that customer. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really is shutting up and listening. Who is their audience and what do they need to accomplish? And then being able to deliver on that. Events, if you're doing events, you're not going to have time to take care of your customers.
And there's that word again, that time. If we're just moving event to event to event, you're not able to have that conversation. It does just become that transactional aspect. And so you're really pigeonholing your members that can take advantage of what you do because they're all not transactional in that. We've got a question and I'm going to pre-answer it for you. And then I'm going to let you take the second half of it. Somebody said, give us an example of a new product offering that you're building out for your next campaign as you talked about the next 2 or 3 years. While I'm letting you pick which one you want to talk about, I'm going to mention that, in her program of work, in her book of business that she sells for TRC and to the membership, it follows your strategic plan. It's all of the programming is under that reach initiative that she keeps mentioning. And something that has always been interesting to me, and it's how we're able as a chamber and how you do it so well in hitting kind of our different segments of membership. Those that are transactional, those that are looking for the greater good and helping that quality of life. You have a vastly large book of business all around your educational programming, into your post-secondary and pre-secondary. And, there's just one thing about the transactional that I think it's a visible thing that some of our viewers could, kind of picture. But you've got a very strong large Hispanic population in your geographical area. And so in that aspect, the chamber produces a publication that goes out through the school system it's in a different language. It shows all of the opportunities and availabilities of just life services that are available. And so in providing that, you have kind of those, long time, larger businesses who that's their employee base. And so they feed into supporting that because they realize it helps the quality of life of their employees. But then you've got the transactional coming from the other way in advertising in that and seeing that as a target market. And I think that that's the important thing for a lot of chambers is to really take the time in strategic thinking to say, what target markets do we have access to? Because they're so vast. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our programming has to be, doesn't have to be, but to have the productivity of connecting those dots, we have to be versatile in diverse program of work in those target markets. And so that's one example I'd just give you because I think y'all can visualize that. But building on probably that and other things, what's a new product that you're thinking about now for 2 or 3 years down the road that, again, that time word comes out? It's not just about gearing up and putting it in a product book, but you're building a foundation for it now.
Okay, so I'm twisted and I'm addicted to what I do for a living. Okay, so in 2005, you hear me? In 2005, I can tell you the conference, the speaker, and I heard this guy get up and he was from the Las Vegas Chamber and he was their marketing person and he is a cool dude. And he was like, well, our chamber members, we're working on business attraction and retention of talent and pipeline, and rattling off the keywords. And he says, so we did billboards, we did TV, we did print, we did this, we did that, and I had this underwritten, we had sponsorships, and we charged this. And I thought, someday we're doing this. I don't know how it's going to look, but it's going to happen. Well, we're in 2020. Okay. Now remember, I started in 2005 with the idea, didn't have a clue how we were going to do it for where I was. During the discovery meetings, I kept hearing, that magazine y'all do, it's okay, it's pretty, but it doesn't do what I need it to do. Well, we really didn't do the magazine anyway. We just co-branded with it because that was a deal my predecessor had done. I didn't like it either, but I didn't tell them. I said, really, what do you need? And then I was writing down their thoughts. And they said, really, with COVID, this was about, now we're into May. Remember, we're starting the campaign in the summer. My staff hates it when I do this. Kelly, we're probably never going to do another job fair at a university again. We've seen that we can be successful, and we don't need you to send us relocation packets because, that was something we did, or we mail out or all this stuff. And we're rethinking all that. I said, really? So what are you needing? Well, we really need, we need a website that's not the chamber's website. We need something that's like for anybody to move to Longview. And, we need a video that we could send out. We need a digital magazine. And they started listing off the products that they needed to be successful. Well, who better to reframe what we already do and put it out there differently? So in 2019, we'd already decided to do the website. So I called up one of the cornerstone sponsors and I said, I'm going to throw you a bone. Are you okay if I just give you about $10,000 worth of extra advertising this year? What are you going to do? I said, I want to redirect some of your monies. Now, remember, what did you hear me say earlier? If you give us 25 grand, I'm only going to allocate 10 to 12 grand out because I'm going to have seed money to do research and development with. I said, well, we're going to build a new website to meet your needs because I'm hearing your pain from a lot of our customers. So the first thing we did was we launched Longview Now, the website. Then we started working on the video. Well, guess what? We just happen to have office space we trade out. It's about 600 square feet to a videographer, photographer, and I went and we trade. Okay. So I said, and he owed us some back trade money because we just couldn't spend it fast enough. So I went to him with this idea. I said, we need a new video. We're going to call it Longview Now. And here's what I wanted to do. And so he walked him through it with Suzanne on our team who leads our communications. And remember, we've really not spent any money. It's staff time at this point. And the production cost Zippo because it's a trade. Because we have the space, it's a win-win. It was already there. I'm thinking, I think someday I could probably sell some sponsorships around this video, but I don't want to do it at the first time out of the box.
Right.
Get a success, and then I can start doing it. Or we, not me, we. And then I'm thinking, I've never really liked that magazine that this town's done, and it makes them feel so good and all that. Well, you know what happened because of COVID? The publisher calls me and says, we're not going to do that magazine. We just need to rethink our business. And so we've given that product to so-and-so in town to do that. I said, okay. Well, I know that business and I know they're greedy and I know that they're not going to pay us a royalty. So we went to them and we said, okay, do you know the history of the publication? Do you know why this is the front door of the chamber? Do you know why we allow you to use our logo and our mailing list? And do you know why? And they go, no. I said, because of the royalty. Do you want to pay the royalty? No, we didn't build that into the budget. I said, okay, Let me give that some thought. Well, I already knew because I was hoping they'd say that. I figured they would say it because I knew the customer. And I went back and I said, well, we want you to be successful. We'll buy an ad. We're going to let you have it. So no more staff time went into this project. They couldn't co-market anything with us. They've struggled. The magazine should have been done in December. It's just now going to print. Well, guess what? We've already released our first Longview Now magazine. And yes, we sold ads at the same price they sell ads for because we happen to have all that information. So this year, because of COVID, we launched a new website, a new video, and a new digital magazine, not print. Nothing's printed. And it's because it's what our customers ask for. Mm-hmm. So what am I thinking for next year? Well, I've got this company who will spend money. I just haven't quite figured out how to make it work. The video. If you watch our video, you'll see we're doing interviews with people predominantly under the age of 40. Why they live in Longview, why they chose to live in Longview. It's all about, having everything they need. It's our story, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to, for X amount of money, would you like some interview staged in front of your screen with your logo, talking about these things that are important to you? And let me bring in one of your employees to be a part of that discussion. So I'm already thinking, we've got a great video. We're coming out with our next magazine in July. We're coming out with video number 2 in July. Okay. So I'll have 2 videos, 2 magazines ready to go, because my goal is once a quarter coming out with a new digital magazine selling Longview, focused not on chamber member. I know y'all gonna scream here if you see it. It's about the community. How, we want people to see themselves living and experiencing and desiring to live in the rolling hills of the piney woods in East Texas. We want them seeing themselves on the lakes and laughing and playing and raising their kids and riding their bikes on our 10 miles of trails. People are proud of that here. Mm-hmm. Companies are going to want to align with these products because A, it's going to go to their audience that they need coming to Longview to help tell their story. Mm-hmm. So that's how my little mind works. I'm just constantly storing up ideas, throwing them up on a whiteboard or in a notebook. And then when things start falling together, I've already thought we could do this, this, and this, and push it out here. So that's just one idea of how we're going to take what we launched this year and create more dollar revenue, more dollars.
Well, and what I would say with that is there's your strategic think.
That's the thing.
It implements the strategic plan, because regardless of what we do as chambers, whether it's an event, whether it's a seminar, whether it's a website and a publication, we can always put it out there. Mm-hmm. But what's the next iteration of it? Where's the growth point for it? Mm-hmm. If we're not thinking that far, we're already setting ourselves up to fail, because it's going to plateau and stay there. Yep. And so anybody watching, and when they think through their program of work, regardless if it's transactional, whether it's in theory, initiative based programming, what's the next? Mm-hmm. Where do you grow for it? And I think that's where we have to kind of stay in a mindset of to accept that growth. Everybody's got the potential to raise additional dollars for additional programming and initiatives. It's just, are they thinking about ways to scale that? And honestly, to me, that goes back to everything that we are. It's how our business members operate. Mm-hmm. It's how our business members conduct business day in, day out. They're not just living in the moment. They're living at where their new product line goes, where their service is going to be scalable. And we have to do the same, because at the end of the day, we should be the business model that all of our members could look at and find success from and say, how did you do that? I need that help in my own business. Kind of as we're wrapping up, I want to leave enough time for a couple of questions. We've got some, but I do want to kind of come back to, of course, we might as well just call a spade a spade. It's a little selfish for us and talking about TRC, but you've done it so well over the last decade that honestly, how has that program of raising dollars at a finite time helped you implement your strategic plan and ultimately affect your strategic plan?
I love TRC to kill programs because we may keep something in for 2 years, and if it doesn't sell, it's gone. So I give it I'm fair, you know, I give it a couple of years, or if it's something that really has merit. One of the example, well, I have two. We have a crappy YPL program in our town. It's all about partying. It's not about leadership development. So we threw out last year 40 under 40. And I stole the idea from Little Rock, and it didn't work. You know, people just couldn't, because we already have YPL. It's just another, it was hard to tell the story. Well, when COVID hit, who's not met all year, right? So when we go through TRC, guess what sold? 40 under 40. Now, if we had killed it the first time, oh, it didn't work, that was a bad idea, that's narrow thinking. So now that's a new initiative to develop future leaders. The other thing is telling our member story. We've started doing videos telling our member story, and we make money off contracting with someone, using the time wisely and getting it out there. But we have access to get it out there. Those small businesses could be doing this, but you know what? We're taking the thinking away from it for them. Right. They just want the impact, the results. So we're coordinating and doing that. So that has birthed through TRC. And with COVID, people just aren't going out like they did. I think we're going to have another wave this summer with that next strain. So we're sitting here strategizing how to get ready for round 2 and next year's TRC campaign. So TRC for me is a sacred cow killer. It's also a great opportunity. I just tell my staff now, in April, I say by June 1st, I want to know everything you want in TRC. Every idea you've heard at any conference or training or other program, what do you want? And they put it together, and then we put it, I don't say no. Because if they want it and their volunteers have talked and built this stuff, I want it too. Right. So that's how we start building our next year's book of business. So our first campaign, our goal was $200,000. We did like 240. We still have a lot, probably 50% of those volunteers are still volunteers 11 years later. This last year, in 2019, we did like 521,000. I didn't think it was that good of a year. I really didn't, but it was all right. The goal was 500. We exceeded it. So we walk into this year, and I said, guys, what's the goal going to be? And they go, well, it's got to be 500. That's what we did last year. I'm thinking, oh, shit. I said, okay, if we really think we can do this. Now, I know we already have 6 businesses at 25 grand. Right. I said, if you really think we can, then let's get in there. But we've got to do things differently. It can't be the same old. We can't do our check-ins the way we've always done it. We've got to be more intentional. Here, and I rewrote the job description. And what did I do, Jason? I spent more money with you. Now, you're saying, what? Because I know one of my friends, I'm just sick that they think that you cost too much. Then they don't have a clue of how much consultants cost. So I called Jason and I said, we're going to change training. First thing you're going to do is you're going to retrain my team. So we did a training for the team. Then we did a training for the vice chairs. Then we did a training for the captains, and then we did a training for the returning volunteers, and then we did a training for all the volunteers. Now, I didn't have to pay Jason's travel to come to Texas or talk someone into sharing those costs with me. So I took the money plus money to invest in training, because you know what? That's what businesses do. Times are tough. They know what their stability assessment is of this, whatever they're going through, and they're prepared to last it for 2 or 3 years. So we need to be thinking like that. And what are they doing? They're looking for innovative ways. And the only way they can get innovation is by developing their people and cutting them loose to create. And that's what we did. So yes, we hit the $500,000 this year. Yes, we surpassed the 521. And yes, we're still selling because we're finding, where customers just weren't ready to pull the trigger. We sold golf sponsorships last week, and Stephanie, if those of you that know Stephanie, she may be on this call. She's like, really? This is just going to screw everything up? And I said, really? Well, we better figure it out, because we're going to let our volunteers sell, because we could be going into another year just like we had this year, and we need to start giving them hope now and building their confidence now that we're going to be even more successful in 2021.
The aspect is COVID's the universal excuse. It's affecting everybody. So you can try anything at this point. And, it's either good results and it was the reason why, or it's bad results and you can lay that at COVID's feet. So that's the beauty of just trying it in that regard. Absolutely. I'll ask this, and then I think this will lead us into a question somebody has and a great wrap up. But, years ago, as you started the thought process, and it's on our website, you did with a testimonial of, have you wondered why TRC that you did for so long? What were some of the hesitancies you saw in doing the program and some of the misconceptions that maybe were inaccurate and maybe has in fact changed your business model to get you to this point of now making, way more than you were prior to TRC, even in a COVID year?
So when I was in Greenville, Texas, Joyce, who used to own YGM, she and I were in Oklahoma at the same time. We lived 20 miles apart, so there was a little history there. And I knew she had created this model by looking at other similar models. And she kept saying, when are you going to let me do business with you? I said, I'm not. I can do it better than you. That's arrogance. That's pride. I said, we can do our own customized marketing. We do that, and we do so well, and blah, de, blah, de, blah. Well, I come to Longview. Kelly, please, I need a chamber in Texas that is successful. And if you'll just work with me, I know you'll be successful. Well, the first time I brought Joyce in, the executive board said, sure, we'll be all in. We took it to the full board. They said, hell no. Our chamber staff should be able to do this without hiring a company. Really? Who? And yeah, you can go hire a contract person or put someone on part-time to do memberships and sales. And yeah, you can do a decent job. And yeah, if they're really good, salespeople are like this. Woo, woo, woo. And so what happens when you're ticked off at them, but they're in a low period and you don't have the patience anymore? That relationship is not sustainable. Mm-hmm. So the second year we brought Joyce back, and she reframed how she visited with the board and said, in your business model, how much do you spend to make $1? And the average is 40 to 50%. I mean, whether you're a bank, you're going to spend 40 to 50% of every dollar in marketing and advertising to secure the sale. She said, I'm going to show you a model that you should never spend over 30%. And that really will only be the first year, because you're going to pay me 20%. Mm-hmm. Well, because we changed the way we presented the content, changed, and it was the exact same board of directors. Mm-hmm. They said, okay, we'll try it. Well, when we blew it away, some people may say 240,000 isn't blowing it away, but when you were only doing 60 grand in sponsorships, that's blowing it away.
Blowing it away.
That's adding a staff person to the team to create more value. So now we average, and I have a little form I'll share with anybody. We spend less than 20% on the trip, the incentives. And guys, we do a better trip than most people. We do 4 nights, 5 days at an all-inclusive. We cover the airfare. Sometimes we'll cover transportation to and from the airport. We'll throw a big party while we're there. So we do good things, but we've yet, since the first year, and that includes the software, that includes the hiring, Jason, I think we spent 19.2% this year. And I have board members say, I'll do that every day. If you're contracting with someone and you're only spending 19.2% on their training and their development and their incentives and everything,
it's a nice business transaction in that regard. And it's what I tell chamber staff and volunteers all the time. Sometimes, and regardless of what you're doing, whether it's TRC, whether it's sponsorship sales, whether it's programs or initiative, sometimes, really all the time, that conversation that we have with our members, we just put it in a business transaction. If it's what they deal with day in, day out, they see it so vastly different than if we just come to them. So, Kelly, I thank you. Somebody asked this question, and I think it's the perfect way to wrap up today. You had talked about 5 circles early on from one of those books, and they'd like for you to mention those circles. And I think that'll be a good wrap up for strategic thinking.
So our 5 circles are the 5 key areas of our strategic plan: redevelopment, education, advocacy, collaboration, and health. It's reach. We want to help our customers reach their dreams to lead prosperity in this community. So I don't know what your circles are. For a church, I will say a fully functioning church has fellowship, worship, discipleship, ministry, and evangelism. We're no different. So I'd say look at that and draw those correlations and figure out, are you going to, what's your greatest risk? That you're just an event-driven chamber. You're not a value-driven chamber. So if we have those 5 areas of fellowship, worship, discipleship, ministry, and evangelism, what's your 5? That's what you've got to figure out. Our key areas is reach. And then we're plugging those components into our reach and asking our how questions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us today and your mind and your experience. Of course, those of you that are watching right now live and even in the replays that might happen through the day, if you've got additional questions, either for us or for Kelly, feel free to drop them in. We'll get them to her. And I know her well enough to know she will absolutely answer them and give you a very in-depth answer rather than just a yes or no. So thank you all for sharing. We'll look forward to seeing you in February for our next TRC Talks. Thanks so much.